People ask me, your background was program engineering and geology. How did you get involved in something like the woodlands? Back in the 1960s, I was involved with a group called the Young Presidents Organization of the United States. A great group of people, about 100 talented young people that headed their company before they were 40. And the company had at least $3 billion a year gross revenues. And we qualified, so we joined the group. But what was interesting, they would have meetings around the world, and wonderful meetings, and we had great people that would lecture to us about urbanization and things like that in other parts of the world. Got a little real estate projects here in Houston and down in Galveston, beach projects, resort projects. So we had a little experience, but we were looking forward to doing maybe a bigger project, something that would really have an impact on urbanization. To do that, I figured we need at least 100,000 people that would be in the place, and it would take 25,000 or more acres to do it. So we proceeded to put the block together. Now, putting a block of 300 different parties over a 5-year period is a tough situation. That's a story in itself. A great group of people. We hired a bunch of people from Colombia, because Rouse had done an earlier project that we used as a model to look at. We went to Colombia to look at things that they did. We went to Rancho Bernardo and Irvine to see what they did. I went to Europe and looked at all the major new towns in Europe, and England and France. And I sent people to Tapiola and also to Sweden to get all the data we could put together. Congress had approved the new Community Act, and you could get a loan, guaranteed loan, not a gift, a loan up to $50 million. And we said we're going to apply for it to see if we could do a project around Houston after the HUD guarantee. And we were one of 13, I think, companies that got that guarantee. We got the largest grant they awarded was $50 million. And unfortunately, none of them really survived except ours. After 10 years, all the others had gone under. Poor planning, poor location, didn't have all the resources needed to do it right. And I think that the people putting it together didn't have the backup money to help them, even though they had federal money available. We knew that Houston's dynamics, and 25 miles north of Houston, where the airport was close by, where the freeway to Dallas was right there, had tremendous potential. And we needed all those things to make it work. It's a very tough project. I knew when the big freeway going up to Conroe, then on to Dallas, was being built. We knew the best place for it to be would be in the wooded area north of Houston. And so we selected an area 25 miles from downtown, from Houston, to start putting the block together. And it took us 2 or 3 years. We started that in about 65 or 6, putting the block together. And then we started to say, all right, how are we going to get the proper planning on this? And we decided at that time that we wanted an important environmental planner. So we hired Ian McHarg, a noted environmentalist, to do the design of the planning for the environmental area. Then we hired that the person that did all the structures and all the architecture on it from California that did Irvine and Rancho Bernardo and some of those. McHarg, he did wonderful work about studying the environmental issues on the whole 25,000 acres. We did such a good job that HUD then used the plan that we had as an example of other projects in the country. The concept would be 7 villages, a total of 125,000 people. We broke ground in 72 and opened in 74. It was tough, but we figured out how to make it a very difficult job to do. And we worked at it, but we had to work our way through because we had to use the resources that we had and the energy company to help out. Concept I had that if we did it and do a good job, and you had 125,000 people, then someday Houston will annex us. We worked to get the Texas legislature to help us, give us 10 years moratorium, and nothing happened between us. We could go ahead and continue operating, and then figure out how we work out a plan where it's part of Houston's jurisdiction, and then they got the big tax base that they want, but they do all the big projects like bringing water from Sabine, a $2 billion project, like doing airport. Now they're up to $7 billion it costs in the airport. So, which the Woodlands couldn't do. That's why we worked with Houston and be part of Houston's efforts, and actually took the risk of clearing out 40 acres for our town center, thinking we're going to win the big mall, which we finally won. If we did make this a town, what would the name be? So we had about 3 or 4 of these people trying to figure out names, and they must have had 100 of them for me to look at. And my wife said, well, I'll tell you what, we had a place up in Montgomery County that we had our personal place, beautiful place. And she said, I'll let you take the name we have for that one, which was called the Woodlands, and I'll put another name on the one that we personally have. So she named the Woodlands by giving up her name that she had. So that was a very important thing. And it is a great name for it. The drainage that came out of the Woodlands right in the middle there, the town center, there was a little gully that went from here to Oak Ridge North. And we said, all right, why don't we excavate that and make it an area where we could have traffic on the water within the town core, and then start developing around there where you have not only action on the transportation on small ships plowing this area, this 3 miles of area that we had inside, making it really a very useful thing. But then when you have trolleys and you have pedestrians, you have all three. Because to go on by the ships is not enough. You have to get more than that. And that's been very successful. If you know, the town center now is doing very well and beautifully done. And we won on the mall. We got probably one of the best malls in the Houston region. And we built a great educational system. We built a private school that competes with the Conroe School District, because they're now at 38 churches in the Woodlands now, all run by the Ecumenical Council to do projects to help each other and to help the citizens. It's interesting, we did the first project in this part of the country that had transportation helped by Department of Transportation. We now have 4 park and ride garages around the Woodlands. About 4,000 people are going into town, medical centers. It's the best park and ride in this part of the country. And probably the best in the whole country as far as I can tell. So that's a good, innovative thing. It's good, particularly when you talk about gas mileage now. Urban Land Institute got interested in what we were doing about Midway, and then they began to talk to us and see how things going and how they could suggest some things that might be helpful to us, so we did. We worked with them very well.
How could the lessons that you've learned at the Woodlands be applied to the other areas around Houston, the other suburban master plan?
What we did and what really sold the Woodlands, I knew on the west side of town what was happening in Houston, because I lived there for a while. You ask the people of Woodlands now, what do you like best? You like the education, you like the traffic, you like this, you like that. Every year for the last 30 years they keep saying, we like the trees. That's what they always say. Their top priority is try to save the trees, which we did. So far, apparently they're doing well. They're still selling pretty well, under 400,000 right now, and surprisingly selling well over $1 million. surprise me. That wouldn't get that far in advance than it has been. And they're doing, if you look at what's happening around Houston now, all the mid-rise apartments all within 20, 30 blocks from Houston going on now. The Woodlands is building them to begin with. The condos and the apartments right in the major center, right where the water taxi goes and the other thing goes. And they're trying hard to preserve the trees. The bigger you get, the tougher it gets to be. But anyway, so far they're doing a good job. But that's it's a great project, and I think that everybody that worked on it has been very happy to be part of it.
Thank you so much.